Well, friends, welcome to our sixth session on the concept of supply under GST. Many things we have already understood now regarding the concept of supply. That concept is very important because that is related to the chargeability. Only when there is supply and the supply is taxable, it has to be made by a taxable person. Then only GST can be levied on that. So let me share the screen with you right now. We are supposed to discuss the concept of deemed supply. Just a minute. Yeah. So many various case laws we are discussing, and that context we have seen. One of the important element of the supply is the constitution. Constitution is important. Supply should be made for a constitution, and we also know supply should have been made in the course of furtherance of business. But there are a list of transactions or list of activities where even if constitution is not involved, they will be still treated as supply. These kind of supplies are included in Schedule 1. And in fact, there are four situations or four cases where even if constitution is not there, still it will be treated as supply. Right. So Schedule 1, we have seen it earlier. We had also discussed at a very basic level. Okay. Under GST law, the constitution is very important. And that important concept gets diluted in these four situations. In these four situations, even if constitution is not involved, still it will be deemed to be supply. So you can say this is a departure from the established condition that consideration should be there in a supply. The first case you see, I told you the four cases. Now here what we are referring to, Schedule 1, Para 1. There are various paras, one by one. We are referring Schedule 1, Para 1. Para 1 talks about, as you can read, permanent transfer or disposal of business assets. So any kind of disposal or transfer of business assets made by an entity on permanent basis without consideration shall qualify as supply. Okay, asset is permanently transferred and it is without any consideration. Still, it will be treated as supply. But however, you have to remember one more thing, that in case ITC, that is input tax credit, has not been applied, then it will be not be treated as a supply. So it is important to note that this provision will apply only if ITC has been availed on such assets. Suppose it's that means what is the essence of this provision? The business assets should have been transferred on which ITC must have been availed. If input tax credit has not availed and assets are transferred, then goes. Okay. That means one person should not acquire a business asset, use its ITC, then transfer it to somebody else. That should not be there. If someone transfers, even if no consideration is involved, then it will be treated as supply. Consequently, GST will be levied. Are you getting? Okay. So to summarize, I can say there must be disposal or transfer of business assets. The transfer or disposal must be permanent, and input tax credit must have been availed on such business assets. These three conditions you see. Right. Okay. So last condition is important, that ITC must have been availed. So therefore, even if there is a permanent transfer or disposal of business asset without consideration, unless ITC has been availed, it will not be deemed as supply. So you might be knowing there are certain business assets on which ITC is blocked. That means you cannot take input tax credit on those assets. Input tax credit is not available in these assets. So If those assets are permanently transferred or permanently disposed of, so there will be, that will not be deemed to be supply. Okay. And these are the cases when ITC is blocked. Or another case is that voluntarily, the business voluntarily, let us say the taxable person might not have availed ITC, though he is eligible. Even if business assets are eligible for ITC, ITC has not been availed by the registered person. Registered person has purposefully has not availed ITC. In that case also, it will be, it will not be deemed as supply. Did you understand? So situation here is that ITC must not have been availed, either voluntarily or maybe ITC is blocked. ITC is not allowed those assets. In that case also, ITC has not been availed. That condition has to be seen. Now, incidentally, what is the meaning of business asset that has not been defined under GST law? So we have to use the normal meaning. Business asset means asset used in connection with the business or for the purpose of business. In that meaning, we'll understand it. So here I am showing you some example or some caselets. Mr. D gives old laptops being used in his business to his friend free of cost. Now tell me whether it will be deemed to be supply or not. He gives old laptops used in his business to his friend. What is your answer? Can anyone answer this question? Okay, I am showing you the answer now. If input tax credit has been taken, then this will be treated as a supply. It will qualify for supply provided ITC has been taken. If ITC has been availed, then only it will qualify for supply. Next caselet is here. A dealer of air conditioners permanently transfers the motor vehicle free of cost. Let us say that motor vehicle is the business asset. It is transferred free of cost without consideration. Is it a supplier? Previous instance, you have seen the laptops were supplied. If ITC was availed, then it was deemed to be supply. Now, this example, can anyone reply?
Sir, it will not be considered as supply.
Can you explain the reason? Can you tell me the reason why it is coming to your mind?
Sir, as his main dealings is with air conditioners, he does the business of air conditioners and he transfers motor vehicle free. Sir, as there is not any consideration also, and we can.
Okay, that is what coming to your mind, that you see that air conditioning and motor vehicle is not related to business asset. Let me clarify that. So let us assume motor vehicle is the business asset. To do the air conditioner business, he needs a motor vehicle, and that is his business asset. Now tell me your answer. That's a business asset. That is for the purpose of transporting, let us say, air conditioner, or for traveling, for installation of air conditioner like this. Now, what is your answer? Well, some of
Sir,
you might, yeah, tell me first, then we'll tell. What was your reply?
sir, then also it will not be supplies.
Yeah, tell me the reason.
Sir, sir, as the motor vehicle is used for the business purposes, like sir, as we are using something for our personal use and then selling it. Similarly, motor vehicle is used for business purpose and then we are transferring or selling it.
But again, that is not the right reason. But I clarified the motor vehicle is a business asset. It is used as for business. Well, friends, let me help you. Some of you might be knowing there are certain supplies on which input tax credit is blocked. One of that item is motor vehicle. If you purchase a motor vehicle, let us say you are buying a car, even if it is for a business, you cannot use the input tax credit on it unless you are a, let us say, car seller, or unless you are a cab operator or you are involved in the traveling business. Unless that is there, you cannot take input tax. So here, even if he has purchased the motor car, purchased the motor vehicle for his business of air conditioners, still he cannot take input tax credit. Since input tax credit cannot be taken, it's not allowed, it's blocked. Okay, so therefore this paragraph 1 doesn't apply. What the paragraph 1 says, this is applicable only when input tax credit has been availed. But in this case, he cannot avail input tax credit, is it not? So what will be your answer? It will not be deemed a supply. ITC on motor vehicle is blocked. Transaction will not constitute supply as the condition of availment of ITC on the business asset is not fulfilled. Okay. So now you have understood how wide this term is. This is permanent transfer and disposal of business asset on which ITC is taken. And here also one more learning we are getting, that in case the business asset is transferred by the holding company to subsidiary company or by subsidiary company to holding company without consideration. Now tell me whether it will be considered as supply or not. Business asset transferred by holding company to subsidiary company or by subsidiary company to holding company without any consideration. My question is that is it a supply or not? Please
The
tell me.
company is the same, so sir, I don't think so it will be a supply.
Sorry.
Sir, the company specified is the same.
It's a sale.
Same, sir, same. Sir, as it is so sending goods from the subsidiary company to the parent company.
Yeah.
Sir, the company involved here is same. Sir, I
No,
don't think so.
company are two different company now. Subsidiary company is different. Holding company is different. Okay. Holding and subsidiary relationship is that. Does it mean that company are same? No, company are definitely different company. They are different companies. If at all they go for registration, they have to take two separate GST registrations. Otherwise, also under company law, there are two separate different legal entities. Under income tax law, you have separate permanent account numbers. Under GST law, you have different registration numbers. All are different. Companies are no way considered as the same. They are totally different. Okay, but assets are transferred by holding company to subsidiary company without any consideration. My point here is that is it a supply? Can you reply? Answer is yes. It will be deemed to be supply provided input tax credit has been taken. Okay, even if supply is made without consideration and input tax credit has been taken, then it will be deemed to be said supply. Are you getting it? Okay. Now, we are still in the concept of deemed supply. We'll be learning one more situation. Now, we are still on the schedule 1, which describes the concept of deemed supply. Now, from para 1, we are moving to para 2. Para 2 talks about supply between related persons or distinct persons. What is the meaning of distinct person? I have explained you earlier. Related person also in some other situation that explained you. Still, if required, we'll be discussing both the terms. Now, this supply between related person and distinct person shall also be deemed to be supply. So, if you read that para, it says supply of goods or services are both between related persons or between distinct persons, as specified in section 25, shall qualify as supply, provided, here is the condition, it is in the course or furtherance of business. So if it is in the course or furtherance of business, then these activities between related person and distinct persons shall be deemed to be supply. Okay. Now, let us discuss what is the meaning of related person first. Now, if you see, a person who is under influence of another person is called a related person. Like a member in the same family, subsidiaries of a group company, they are related person, but they are different persons. Okay. So if you refer to GST law, there are various categories of related persons are specified. Okay. It has been defined in explanation to section 15. If you refer to section 15, their explanation is there, which talks about related persons. And if you summarize this particular picture, this picture explains you what is the meaning of related person. Okay. Persons, including legal persons, are deemed to be related if such persons are officers and directors in one another's business. Okay, if somebody is a director in somebody's business, or someone is working as an officer in someone else's business, then he is a related person. Is it clear? Try to read this meaning carefully. There might be many cases, many situations out of this provision. Okay, once you know that it is with your related person, even if there is no consideration, it will be deemed to be supply. Okay, provided it is the course of furtherance of business. So if persons are officers and directors in one another's business. Second situation, can you read the second situation? Second point. Can anyone read it?
Such persons are legally recognized.
If they are partners, if they are legally recognized partners, partnership deed shows that they are partners, then they are definitely. So any supply made between them in the course of furtherance of business will be considered as supply, even if there is no consideration. Such persons are employer and employee. Employer-employee relationship is comes under related persons. Okay. There are exceptions up to which supply made by the employer to employee will not be treated as supply, will not be deemed to be supply. We'll be learning that exception. But the relationship between employer and employee, if it is there, they will be called as related persons. Next situation is that the third person controls. Suppose there is a party A, party B, but both of them are controlled by C. That is a third person which controls both the parties. If a third person controls, owns, holds, and this holding can be directly or indirectly, 25% or more voting of stocks or shares or both of them. That means these parties are controlled by a third person. If that is there, then these two persons will also be considered as related persons. Suppose party A and party B both are controlled by C, and C is having more than 25% of the voting power, then A and B will be considered as related person because they're controlled by a third person. Okay. Next point is that one of them controls the another. Suppose A controls B or B controls A. Then also they are related person. Or a third person controls both of them directly in it. Okay, even without 25% holding. Right. Then also they are related person. Such persons together control. Suppose A and B jointly control a third person. They are not controlled. Here the situation is that they are controlled. A and B both are controlling a third person. Then A and B will be also considered as related persons. They are members of same family. A and B are members of the one family. They are related persons. One of them is sole agent, sole distributor, sole concessionaire of the other. Okay, exclusively he is the person who will act as agent, distributor, concessionaire. Then he will be treated as related person. Did you understand the meaning of related person? Why the meaning of related person is important? Because of this para 2 of schedule 1 says supply of goods and services between related persons in the course of furtherance of business shall be deemed supply, even if there is no constitution. Okay. Hope you have understood the meaning of related person. Now, if you have understood, then please answer me this situation. First case I am talking about. Ms. Priya holds 30% share of ABC Limited and 35% of XYZ Limited. Question is that whether this ABC Limited, XYZ Limited are related persons. What is your answer? Are they related persons? If you want, I'll show you this picture once again. You can refer to the chart. Now answer me, first case.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ABC Limited, XYZ Limited related company. Case 2. Why they are related? Because you know,
It is
third
extremely
person
more than
controls more than equal to 25% of the voting stock. Right? Fine. Now tell me the answer for second case. Q Limited has a deciding role in corporate policies. Corporate policies, operation management, and quality control of R Limited. Now, either Q Limited and R Limited are related persons or not. There is no shareholding, but is playing a deciding role. Tell me. What is your answer? Again, I am showing you this picture, which will help you to take your decision.
Yes, sir. They are related
Yes,
person.
sir. Okay. Now you see, even if there is no holding, but control is there. It can be said Q limited controls are limited. Therefore, Q limited are related persons. Now, what is distinct person? That also important because this para 2 covers both the things. If you read the para 2, it says supply of goods and services or both between related persons or between distinct persons. So we need to understand the meaning of distinct person. Distinct person, of course, I had explained you in some other classes. So you know, under GST law, supplier is required to obtain state-wise registration. He has to obtain registration in every state or in every union territory from where he is making taxable supply, provided his aggregate turnover exceeds the specified threshold limit. These threshold limits are different from different states. Okay, there is some similarity, but different threshold limits are there. When we'll be learning the registration chapter, we'll be understanding what is this threshold limit. Some cases it is 40 lakh, some situations 20 lakh like this. Right. So one need to obtain a registration certificate in every state and union territory if he is making some taxable supply. But if he is not making any taxable supply, he might be making some supplies from a state, but let us say he is not making any taxable supply, or he is making non-taxable supply, then he is not required to obtain registration under GST for that state. Okay. Now thing here is that, you know, the GST registration is PAN based. Earlier you have seen the GST registration number. You see the PAN number is embedded in it. GST number is PAN based. Once the supplier is liable to register, he has to obtain a registration for each state or each union territory in which he operates. He operates means in which he is making taxable supply under the same PAN, because supplier's identity is PAN. With the same PAN, if he is making some taxable supply in different states, he has to obtain registration for different states. Okay, that is point number one you have to understand. Second thing is that even within the state, normally what happens if supplier within the state obtains only one registration certificate. Okay, but in case he is doing business in the multiple places within the state or within the territory, he still has an option either to go for a single registration or to get separate registration for each of these places of states, for each of these places of business within the state. Okay, so first point we have understood. If someone is doing taxable supply, someone making taxable supply in different states, he has to go for different registration. But within the state, if someone has multiple places of business, he has got an option. What is that option? A, he can go for a single registration. B, he can go for multiple registration. It is up to him. Okay. So that means this gives us an idea that there is always possibility that for one part, there can be multiple GST numbers. Okay. That is the situation when the concept of distinct person arises. Okay. These establishment of person with separate registration within the same state or union territory or in different states are considered as distinct person. Suppose a person is having two registrations. In respect of registration one, the other place will be considered as a distinct person. In respect of place two, then place one will be considered as a distinct person because they are two different registrations under GST. But both of them are having same part. Okay. So therefore, where a person having one registered establishment in a state or union territory has another establishment in a different state or union territory. And it's not necessary that the different place of different establishment is registered. That is not necessary. These establishments are considered as establishments of distinct persons. Okay. A person who has obtained or is required to obtain more than one registration, whether in one state or union territory or more than one union territory, shall in respect of each registration be treated as a distinct person. This is the exact wording of section 24, subsection 4 of CGST. Now I think you have understood. I repeat, a person who has obtained or required to obtain more than one registration, whether in one state or union territory, or in more than one state or union territory, shall, in respect of each such registration, be treated as a distinct person. Okay, I think you have understood the concept. Here is an example you see. Let us say Mr. CA is a chartered accountant, has a registered office at Delhi. He has also obtained registration in the state of West Bengal. In this case, Mr. CA shall be treated as a distinct person in respect of the registrations in West Bengal and in Delhi. Because there are two different registrations in different states. Okay, and two different registrations are also possible within the state. That is an option. Is it clear to you? And why you are learning all these things? Because when supply is made between distinct person, even if it is without constitution, but it is in the course or furtherance of business, it will be regarded as supply. Now, since you have already covered what is distinct person, we need to quickly understand what is the establishment of distinct person. Where a person who has obtained or is required to obtain registration in a state or union territory in respect of establishment has an establishment in another state or union territory, then such establishment shall be treated as establishment of distinct person. Okay, now you know what is distinct person. If he is having a place of business, having a place establishment in another state, that will be referred to as establishment of distinct person. Okay. Let us quickly see some example. Here example is that a person who is a registered supplier owns a air conditioned restaurant in Maharashtra. He's having a AC restaurant. That means is liable to be registered on the GST. He has opened a liquor shop at Raipur, Uttarakhand, trading of alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Since supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption in Uttarakhand is non-taxable supply, you know that thing. Alcohol supply for human consumption is out of purview of GST as of now. So therefore, in Uttarakhand, he need not obtain GST registration. Okay. But he is having a AC restaurant in Maharashtra. So in Maharashtra, he need to obtain a registration. Okay. And both the establishment, that is establishment of Maharashtra and establishment of Uttarakhand, will be treated as distinct person, even if Uttarakhand is not distinct. And supply made by Maharashtra establishment to Uttarakhand office in the course or furtherance of business, even without consideration, shall be qualifying as supply. Okay, here is a restaurant at Maharashtra, here is a unregistered liquor shop at Uttarakhand, but supply is made without consideration. So both of them will be treated as distinct person, even if it is not registered. Okay. If they are distinct person, then even without consideration supply is made in the course of furtherance of business, so that will be treated as supply. Thus, the same concept is also applicable to branch transfers, transfers between head office to branch, one branch to another branch. So transaction between different locations with separate GST registration of the same legal entity. For example, stock transfers, branch transfers, etc., will qualify as supply under GST because they are two different persons, they are distinct persons, and the supply is made in the course or furtherance of business. Now you see, here is a fabric manufacturer. He transfers 1,000 shards from his factory located in Lucknow to his retail showroom at Delhi. Okay, manufacturer and the showroom owner, they are same. And from manufacturing unit, he is transferring it to the showroom, 1,000 shards. The factory and retail showroom of the person are registered in the states where they are located. That means factory registered in Lucknow, okay, and this thing showroom is registered in Delhi. And as you have seen, they're registered in two different states. And there is a stock transfer. And you know, both the parties will be considered as, not both the parties, a single party in this situation will be considered as distinct person. Since supply is made between distinct person, they'll be treated as supply. They'll be deemed to be supply, even if there is no consideration. Okay, although no consideration is charged, supply of goods from factory or retail showroom shall constitute supply. Okay, but here one more concept is that transfer between two units of a legal entity under single registration. Single registration means obviously it will be within the same state. Within same state, there is an option. You may go for multiple registration, but let us say with the single registration is there within the state, and there is a transfer between two units that will not be considered as supply. Same, let us say fabric manufacturer transfers 100 shards from his factory located in Lucknow to his retail showroom as Kanpur. Now both of them are in UP, so that it can be sold there. Okay, it has taken one registration from the state of Uttar Pradesh, declaring Lucknow factory as the principal place of business and Kanpur factory as the additional place of business. So when we will be learning the registration process, you'll see that there is an option you can declare this is the principal place of business, these are my additional place of business. Here registration is one within the state, and goods are transferred from one establishment to another establishment. They are not treated as two distinct persons because registration is same. In this case, when it is transferred without consideration, it will not be treated as supply. Since no consideration is charged, supply of goods from factory to retail showroom in the same state with single registration does not constitute supply. So this point also you have to remember carefully. Okay. Now, friends, you must have got idea that there are various issues, various complexities relating to supply. Now we are still considering the concept of deemed supply, that is schedule 1. So we'll continue our discussion in our next class. Today we'll take a break here. Okay, friends. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. We'll catch up again in the next session. We'll continue with the same concept. Thanks a lot.